Hey guys, Sonic the Hedgehog here, and welcome to probably the most. Let's just say this is a video I've been dying to do for so long on my own. Ever since the old design and the redesign and everything else about this movie, I've been dying to talk about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. And I know that this is a bit different from the Sonic and Friends reviews stuff I've been doing lately, and I have been trying my best to get back to those again. Just been a bit busy with other projects with the series and so forth. But for the Sonic movie, I decided to actually just go straight out and just do a non-scripted video for the film because holy crap, did this movie really blew my expectations in the best way possible. I can say without a doubt that this is easily the best video game movie out there, and probably one of my favorite films of all time, basically, because of a lot of reasons, really. One, that it's so full with charm, so full of life, care, and heart. You can really feel that Jeff Fowler and the people involved in the film really cared about working on this film and wanting to make something fun for the fans of Sonic the Hedgehog. With that said, I want to point this out that this is mainly coming out of a Sonic the Hedgehog fan. As you can tell from my name and how much I use the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise over the years on my channel, I've been a huge fan of Sonic. Not to say I'm that big into it. The Simpsons and SpongeBob are definitely a lot bigger in my opinion. But Sonic is definitely one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. And I've been wanting a Sonic the Hedgehog movie for about decades at this point. I would say around the late 2000s, say 2007 to 2009. I wanted to see a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. There were so many opportunities you can do with the Sonic the Hedgehog brand. Especially when you realize that this series has about 5 cartoons and how many comics now? 3, 4 comics? So there's a lot you can do with the Sonic the Hedgehog license in movie form. And while this maybe isn't the exact way I wanted to see a Sonic movie, for what it's worth, and for being the first film in the franchise, I would say this is probably the best route they could take with this franchise. Now let's just go for a quick description of the plot. Basically, we follow Sonic the Hedgehog, who we see having to leave his world due to particular people hunting down for his powers. And for about 10 years, he's been living on Earth all alone, but soon after an incident in a baseball field that causes his power to go out, the government has now tracking Sonic down with the help of Dr. Robotnik, played by Jim Carrey, and now Sonic needs to find a way to escape Dr. Robotnik with the help of James Marsden's character, Tom Growski. The one thing I can say straight out of the film is that it's not going to break any boundaries. Like, for at least plot-wise, this has been a plot that's been used so much with not only, this is just a thing a lot of these movies based on any property do. Like, the Smurfs, for example. That's, like, the main example of having these characters taken out of their world and now need the help of a human to get their mission across. But unlike all these other films where they tend to focus more on the human actors more than the actual CG characters we actually paid money to see, Sonic is still aware that, yeah, this is a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, so Sonic gets most of the screen time. There's only been a few points in the film where it doesn't have Sonic on the screen, either from James Marsden's character or Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. So there are going to be, like, some cliches that people will notice about it, but for my opinion, it doesn't matter because of a few reasons. One is that the film has so much heart and soul. Like, this film has gone some places I didn't even expect to see from the Sonic the Hedgehog name. Like, how Sonic is actually developed. For this film's case, he's been alone for about 10 years, never talking to anybody and never having a friend. And there are certain points in the film where he gets emotional over this fact. He gets upset, he gets angry at the fact that he's been alone for so long that he doesn't have a single friend in his life. And it's kind of having a mental breakdown over it. It's still not as deep as it could be, being that this is a kid's movie, but still, the fact that they actually went into Sonic's character, acknowledged that, 10 years of being alone would do this to anybody. They would go berserk like Sonic would by just having no one around for 10 straight years. And I really gotta give it to Ben Schwartz as Sonic. I think he's the breakout star of the film. Jim Carrey does extremely well with Dr. Robotnik, sure, but Ben Schwartz just really sells it as Sonic. You can tell that he is putting his heart and soul into Sonic. And I honestly think if the games had to replace Roger Craig Smith at any point, I would honestly think Ben Schwartz would be the best performer you could pick for Sonic. He just sells it. And it really helps when you have the improved animation. The redesign was well worth the wait, as it gives Sonic a lot more personality and a lot more emotional beats, from his facial expressions to just how he acts, his body language just acts. It really gives out what Sonic, would work in this situation. And I think it was well worth the wait. While we're on Sonic as well, we have other characters. Jim Carrey, of course, sells the film as Dr. Robotnik. If you love Jim Carrey in the 90s performances, such as in The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, or Ace Ventura, you would love this film just for this fact alone, as he's gone straight back to being a silly, entertaining goofball. And he really works with Dr. Robotnik. Given the character, Eggman himself never really does. You never really go into the character, like how he's become Eggman. You kind of just, you're just straight off the point seeing Eggman as the way it is. Well, the film, it shows that a bit more of why Robotnik kind of acts the way he does, and how he acts more like Eggman later on as the film continues. And I gotta give the film this, that it's not the Sonic X approach, because it does have similar structures to Sonic X, with the whole Sonic being out of this world and into our world situation. But unlike Sonic X, where with our main human character, Chris, Tom is actually a lot more likable, and his plot doesn't even really take much of Sonic's plot. The most that he has in the terms of the plot is that he wants to leave the particular city called Green Hills in order to become a bigger part of a police force. He wants to be a general officer and do more crime. Sort out more crimes. And Green Hills just is a small city, so there's not much he can do outside of that. So I can understand where he's coming from. And like I said, he doesn't take much of the film. He is our main human outside of Jim Carrey, but at least the film is still acknowledging that Sonic is still the main focus. He's just kind of more the straight man, or kind of more fatherly figure to Sonic's more kid-like nature. But this is kind of where one criticism I can give the film outright is, outside of those, most of the other actors don't really do much in the film. I mean, outside of two other actors, which is Maddie. She doesn't have as much to do in the film, but she does a lot more. She's kind of around mainly for the first and third act. The second act, she's completely absent over. And then there's Agent Stone, who's mainly the assistant with Dr. Robotnik. He mainly works as just a person to work around with Jim Carrey's more crazy performance as Dr. Robotnik. It's nothing like, say, other Sonic characters who have this teamwork with Eggman, such as Obot the Cubot or Helly from Scrouch and Grounder. He just kind of takes it. But I still like the actor. He really seems to actually has fun just being around with Jim Carrey. But then outside of that, all the other characters don't really do much in the film. Such as, for example, the other cop character that Tom has to talk to at certain points. He's just kind of there for some awkward humor that doesn't always work. There's Maddie's sister, I believe, who mainly hates Tom with a passion and acts more like Patty and Selma from The Simpsons, trying to find a way to, make Tom and Maddie break up and going on dating apps and all this sort of stuff. There's also the niece, I think. I thought that was going to be Tom and Maddie's daughter, but no, they don't have a kid anywhere. She's just kind of there to give Sonic his shoes, which, yeah, that's kind of a thing. Sonic kind of goes off about his actual, red shoes for most of the film until around the second act, which isn't really a bad thing. It's still fun to know where Sonic got his shoes from. I'm not having that much of a complaint. And then there's this crazy Carl character who kind of just is the most out of all these minor characters, gets the most amount of time, as he's the one who kind of finds out about Sonic way early, but no one believes him until Tom finally catches him. Also, while I'm on that, I'll give the film that they do manage to actually give a good reason why Sonic needs to have Tom around. Sonic basically loses some power rings to go to some worlds and such, and ends up losing it in San Francisco. And he doesn't know where that is, so he needs Tom's help to get there. After trying to run there, but only head into the ocean afterwards. So at least there, it gives that whole situation a good reason why Sonic needs Tom's help at all. And then, outside of that, the visual effects are really good. Like, outside of Sonic's animations being expressive, the other stuff, such as the drones, the action scenes, they really do work with the film. The humor as well works extremely well. I have laughed many times trying to binge Holtz's and Jim Carrey's, and even a few James Morrison's moments made me laugh. It's only with the side characters that kind of has some unfunny moments, and there are one or two moments with Jim Carrey or James Morrison or Ben Schwartz that isn't funny. But for the most part, the film is entertaining. There is still some low points and humor that's just there for kids' humor's sake, like Sonic does fart. And there is two moments in the film where Sonic does have to dance, does the floss dance from Fortnite. Which, I'm seeing a lot of people criticize that alone, but given this film is already like how long in production? 7 years? So I'm not that nitpicky over that fact. If anything, the animators at least made Sonic's movements following that look fine. They actually look fairly good for the most part. And the references for the game, there were a ton of references all over the place. It isn't as deep as some people have said it is, but there is a lot of references to the Sonic series in general. For, like I said, Green Hill Zone and Mushroom Hill Zone get a few mentions as the main focus on the plot. The Sonic meme gets a reference in there, as well as some other particular moments from the Sonic series, and even stuff even unrelated to the Sonic games in general, like Super Smash Brothers gets a bit of a reference in there. Like I said, yeah, the references still work. It really does work for a Sonic fan, and you'll be extremely happy to see these elements in the film. Now, would I say, would this work for someone who isn't a fan of the Sonic series? It really does depend on how much you do know about Sonic, or at least know if you want a silly action family film. And if that's the case, Sonic will do well for you, but if you don't like Sonic in particular, you may not like this film. It's not as much as, say, the games have it, but there are still elements that you probably won't like about Sonic in the film. But, like I said, to be honest, I had a total blast with this film. It's still amazing to know that after all these years, we finally get it. We finally got a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. And I'm so happy. Like, this is the fact that this happened, and being so good as it is, I really can't believe it. And I'm already planning to see this again, like, next week. It's that good. The only other film I can recall that was so good that I had to see it again in a short amount of time was with the Joker movie. So, yeah, I would really recommend Sonic the Hedgehog. If you're a fan of the series, you will easily love this film. And even if you're like someone who's not familiar with the Sonic brand but still want a good action family film, I think Sonic will do extremely well with you. If you are not a fan of Sonic, you might want to stay away from it. It still kind of has some elements you wouldn't like from Sonic in there. But overall, I'm very happy to say that this is probably the best video game movie of all time, even beating Detective Pikachu. I like the Pikachu one, but it's not as good as people have made it out to be, and, you know, that's also just coming out of someone who's just more of a small fan of the Pokemon franchise. I do know some stuff about the Pokemon series, but I'm not a die-hard fan, and I'm not even that big of a fan of it at all, but I know a few things about Pokemon. Now, just the more the thing at the end, what about the Sonic and Friends? Am I going to do that review for Sonic and Friends? Yeah, I might. I'm not entirely sure on this aspect because it is a bit tricky to do. I'll think about it, but, you know, I'll see what I can do with Sonic and Friends doing this. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. If you want to see another more into this opinion on the Sonic movie from a Sonic fan's point of view, I will link a video down in the description of me collaborating with a friend of mine called Magnus Roberts, who did a review of the Sonic movie as well. You can check the link in the description for it. And just thank you, Jeff Fowler, Ben Schwartz, Jim Carrey, and everyone from Paramount for Sega. Just the fact that we finally got it and being as good as it is. It's safe to say that delay, that redesign, that extra money that you had to put into this film was definitely worth it. I can't wait to see any more Sonic movies. I would like it to have a Smurfs Lost Village approach of just having it being completely animated. But if we have to have more of these CG live-action films, I hope it's as good as this one. So I'm Locke the Hedgehog. I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.